A dying grandmother gives a task to her granddaughter. She wants her to find a tree. This soon turns into an adventure for Maya, who has another task waiting for her as she finds that tree. If you're interested in stories about women with elements of historical fiction, then you need to keep watching this video. In today's video, I am reviewing this book, The Granddaughter Project by Shaheen Chisthi. This is a sponsored read for me. I read this book and now I'm ready to tell you what I think about it. But before that, hi there. If you're new on this channel, I am Manpreet. I make book related videos on this channel. I'm India's leading books YouTuber who helps people discover new books and develop the habit of reading. I do a lot of book reviews and recommendations on the channel, so make sure you subscribe, follow me on my social media, and turn your notifications on so that you get notified every time I post a new video. And also do subscribe to my free newsletter that updates you about all the content that I produce and also gives you some free and useful resources as for a book lover. Now let's talk about the book, The Granddaughter Project. The author Shaheen Chisthi is actually an Indian British author who is also the member of London Literary Society and the Muslim Jewish Forum in London. He also happens to be the descendant of the revered Sufi saint Khwaja Muinuddin Chishti, whose shrine is also known as Ajmer Sharif Dargah. Through his writings, he focuses on women upliftment, women empowerment, and this is his debut novel. The Granddaughter Project is one book that touches different subjects through the stories of different women. I told you about Maya, right? So she is the granddaughter of Kamla, who gives her a project. As you read the book and Maya moves forward with the project, there will be letters that you will read, and through these letters, you'll be able to jump into the male dominated and some of the most difficult times of human history, including the Bengal famine of 1943, the Holocaust, and the 1958 Notting Hill race riots in the UK. So, all in all, this book is about three women, each facing one of the most difficult times of the human history. And all three women have different stories, different backgrounds, and different problems, but they are bound together with a common thread. They are writing these letters to help out their next to next generation, that is, their granddaughters. And through their agonies of the past that they have put into these letters, they attempt to, teach something to their granddaughters so that these women can thrive in their present now. Okay, so that is the basic concept of the book. Now, my review of the book. As you dive into the book, you get introduced to Maya and the project. You get to know about Maya, her fiance, and her life in London that has come to a pause as she starts working on this project, as she has been given this project by her dying grandma. Maya's grandmother is Kamla, and through her story, through her letter, you are introduced to the time of the Bengal famine 1943 that claimed more than 3 million lives. I personally had only a vague idea about this time of our history, but reading Kamla's story and her narration about the pain, the starvation, the helplessness that people faced during this time, that is heartbreaking and eye opening. At the same time, I feel like these are the stories that I want to read more. I believe that knowing your past well helps you live your present better, and that's the concept of this book. That's the overall theme of this book, according to me, and also the truth of our lives. Kamla, in her letter, also discusses the time when men acted like scavengers preying on needy women. The whole book, actually, all the letters highlight the hypocritical and animalistic behavior of men. Honestly speaking, Kamla's narration of this time was beautiful but tragic as well. However, there were a few elements in the story that felt unbelievable. For example, Kamla's and Rajiv's romance, the way it started, it just didn't fit well. Also, some details in the story look too polished, and at sometimes the progression of things were missing. For example, Kamla sort of learns to speak perfect English in about 11 years, and that progression was given no attention, and maybe because the concept of the book is different and the focus was elsewhere. But I believe, as a reader, that was an important subject in the story that was not, given enough attention in terms of the progression. Otherwise, from the beginning of the book itself, you will experience brilliant storytelling. After Kamla's story and as the project progresses, you get to know about Helga, a woman who went through the Holocaust. The story, the letter she has written that highlights how her life changes from being a loved and a very comfortable daughter of a Jewish family to somebody whose family and who herself went through a lot of pain. The descriptions of the horrors she and her family had to go through because of the Nazis and the role of men in intensifying these horrors is just tragic and heartbreaking. It is also painful and distressing at some levels. As I read the second letter in the book, Helga's letter, a thought popped up in my mind, and that was, is every man in this story bad? You see, that's one of the things that I did not like about this book, and that is that all the male characters in the book are either, abusive, dishonest, or hypocritical, and any good character, any good male character, which honestly are very few in this book, are just casually set aside and given no attention. At some point, their abuse and sudden character changes seemed forced. For example, Helga's father. Now, as you read the book, you will eventually accept what he had become, but the sudden change in his personality, that sort of was dealt with such a casual manner that seemed to say, like, all men are like this. And as if there was nothing to tell of their story, there was nothing to tell of their pain, as if they didn't have any. I understand the book is about women empowerment and the book is about the stories of women, but I do not understand why, for that to happen, every man in their story has to be bad. Every man in their story has to become a villain. I mean, there are just a few good men in the story as well, but they're just casually set aside, not highlighted at all, and that seemed very biased and one sided. Somewhere within the Helga story, her letter, the whole book seemed to be focused on condemning men, and that I did not like about the book. Anyhow, you have another and the last letter in the book, that is of Lynette, and through her story, you get to know about an immigrant woman who moves to UK with her daughter for a better life. And Lynette is the daughter in the story, and she just is met with lies and racism, pushing her into prostitution. And of course, the Notting Hill race riots just change her story as they come, and the whole racism is the main subject of this particular story. While of course there's a lot of focus on the role of men in their stories and how every man that they met eventually betrayed them and all that. All three stories were well written and heart touching. I really liked reading the whole book, gave me so much of insights into three different times of human history and what people went through, and that was just amazing. You guys know, all the people who have been watching me for a while know that I love The Nightingale by Christian Hannah, right? And this book, in terms of the vibe and concept, came quite close to it. It could have been better if the storyteller dealt with a few things in a better manner, but otherwise I felt it was a really good read for me. That is what I think about this book. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I would really recommend it to you if you're looking for a book that has elements of historical fiction, that tells stories of women, and that has a lot of diversity in terms of which period of time they refer to and in terms of which people they feature. So it's a really diverse and a really thought provoking, heart touching, and a really good read. And that's what I think about this book. If you have picked it up already, let me know what you think about it. And if you haven't picked it up, I would really ask you to check it out once and then make your decision about it. And yes, thanks so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed watching it. If you did, comment down below with TGDP. I just want to check who of you are watching up until this point. And yes, thank you so much for watching this video. This is Manvi signing off. I'll be back with another video very soon.